Hello, friends. How are you? So, today I'm going to share with you an alternative explanation of how the universe came into existence, or the appearance of the universe came into existence. But before I do that, let me give you a brief synopsis of the current explanations, okay? So, according to current cosmology, something called a Big Bang occurred about 13.8 billion years ago. No cause can be ascribed to the Big Bang. Uh, no theory exists as to why the Big Bang occurred when it occurred. Space time did not exist prior to the Big Bang. So, if you ask what was there before the Big Bang, then that question is meaningless and a cause becomes challenging. However, there are some people who suggest that it was quantum fluctuations. And there's also a theory called eternal inflation, which posits multiple universes, in fact, infinite universes, and is consistent with string theory, but there's no scientific evidence for that cyclical universe either. Quantum fluctuations, cyclical universe. Okay, so then what happened is, according to current science, there was a period of cosmic inflation where the universe expanded exponentially. That is, it doubled in size every trillionth of a trillionth of a trillionth of a second, and then it suddenly slowed down. This cosmic inflation is supposed to have occurred 10 to the power of minus 36 to 10 to the power of minus 33 seconds after time zero. And no explanation is given for that either, or is not available at the moment. There was also something called the Planck epoch, from which occurred 10 to the power of minus 43 seconds post Big Bang. At that time, no laws of physics apply. It is presumed that the four forces, strong and weak interactions, gravity, electromagnetism, all fused, but there's no explanation for that either. I mentioned cause eternal inflation, which suggests infinite universes, and so on, but we have no explanation for inflation anyway. From the cosmic wave background, we can see the remnants of heat that occurred, and we can posit large, large scale structures of the universe from that. But it took about 380,000 years for atoms to appear, and following that, of course, formation of stars, and ultimately, the rest of cosmic evolution, then biological evolution, all the way to human beings. The Earth is supposed to be about, less than 5 billion years old, and life began about 2.8 billion years ago on our planet, with the emergence of chemolitho-autotrophic hypothermophiles on the rims of volcanoes, and then biological evolution started from bacteria to plants to animals, all the way from animals in the sea to amphibians to then land animals, and then all the way to primates and ultimately human beings. So, as you can see, there are many, many gaps in this explanation. No explanation for Big Bang. Nothing known about no laws of physics that apply to the Planck epoch, 10 to the minus 43 seconds, cosmic inflation? Why is it so precise? When the universe tripled in size, doubled in size, sorry, every trillionth of a trillionth of a trillionth of a second, starting with the size of uh, a period at the end of a sentence, and up to a grapefruit, and in that cosmic inflation, and then now a universe that spans 95 plus billion light years in diameter and continues to expand. And in this, of course, this idea of dark matter, which is non atomic, which is about 27% of the universe. We don't know what it is, but it's responsible for most of the gravity in the universe. And then dark energy, which is another, say, 27, no, dark matter is about 27%. About 70% is dark energy, which is the opposite of gravity. We have no idea what it is. We don't know what dark energy is. We don't know what dark matter is. We don't know what caused cosmic inflation. We don't know what the laws of physics are in the Planck epoch. We don't know what caused the Big Bang. And then we're left with about 3% of the universe or 4% of the universe, which is atomic, out of which 99.9% is invisible interstellar dust. And the remaining universe, which is 2 trillion galaxies, 700 sextillion stars, uncountable trillions of planets, is 0.01% of the universe, the atomic visible universe. 2 trillion galaxies, 700 sextillion stars, and uncountable trillions of planets is 0.01% of the universe. And we are part of that. And that is the atomic universe. And as you know, atoms and particles are made of particles. Particles have a dual nature, wave and particle. And when particles are not measured, they become probability clouds in cosmic, in mathematical space, which have no location whatsoever, clouds of probability, but they collapse into the wave functions collapse into particles, which ultimately appear as the visible universe that includes you and me. While mathematically very precise and very wonderful, it actually, as you can see, has huge gaps. Okay, so what would be the alternative explanation? And the alternative explanation would be that prior to the Big Bang, as we say, then the singularity, which is a point of zero volume and infinite density, that singularity was actually pure consciousness, and it was also zero volume, but infinite possibilities for manifestation. And that cosmic consciousness or pure consciousness modified itself into the first qualia. Qualia means qualities of knowing and experience. So consciousness wanted to know itself. Consciousness became conscious. And in that moment, it knew itself as this infinitely hot experience, a qualia experience. So post creation, which is consciousness becoming conscious of itself, it knew itself as hot and dense. And then it knew itself in all these modes of knowing and experience. It knew itself as in all these modes of knowing and experience without any biological um, um, experience. The biological experience came much later. So consciousness knew itself as modes of knowing and experience that we as humans now call atoms, molecules, stars, and describe as the objective universe in the model of reality that we call naive realism. So consciousness knew itself as atoms and molecules and ultimately stars and the whole sequence that we just went into just as cosmic evolution. And then later biological evolution happened. And then as biological evolution happened, each biological organism was a mode of knowing for the original cosmic consciousness, but a restricted mode of knowing through biological organisms. So microorganisms have their own modes of knowing and experience. Plants have their own modes of knowing and experience. Fish have their own modes of knowing and experience. Amphibians, land animals, primates, and ultimately humans became a mode of knowing and experience in cosmic consciousness, differentiated pure consciousness. And it is the human mode of knowing and experience that is giving the current cosmological model. But what was it that started all this? And from deep introspection and deep inquiry, which goes beyond the senses and even includes transcendence and self reflection, but also self inquiry. The great wisdom traditions say that pure consciousness is still appearing as the human universe, but also other species specific universes. But that pure consciousness is indescribable. It is inscrutable. It is immeasurable. It is immortal. It is infinite. It is ineffable. It is irreducible. It is imperceivable. It is timeless. It is borderless. It is spaceless. It is indestructible. It is not subject to decay. It is timeless, and it is therefore incomprehensible. This infinite, inconceivable, and imperceivable makes the finite perceivable possible through species-specific modes of knowing and experience.